to say something that might sound sacrilegious. I think the connection out of structure between CJ Stroud and Nico Collins is comparable to Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes.
Like, I'm watching all these weapons for Kansas City and Baltimore, including their quarterbacks. You know who matches up in the AFC? Houston. Houston's got these kind of weapons. Adding Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, CJ Stroud. Both these teams tonight. I mean, it's tight ends, it's wide receivers, it's slot guys, it's running backs, it's all-time quarterbacks.
I love Lamar. I've been high on Josh Allen. People like Smalls and others have been high on Burrow. By the end of the season, CJ Stroud may be number 2 overall.
After one of the most remarkable rookie seasons of all time, the Houston Texans are delivering on the hype and running a riot in the AFC. Having completely just nullified Josh Allen and downed the Buffalo Bills, they sit at a tidy 4-1 record, standing out as a clear challenger to Kansas City's AFC crown. With CJ Stroud playing at an MVP caliber level and Nico Collins emerging as one of the most unstoppable wide receivers in the NFL, the sky is truly the limit for the Texans. And honestly, I think it's time to admit that the Houston Texans might be the best team in the AFC. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys knew I had to come through with you guys for a promo code, so make sure that you guys are using code YouTube150 for a nice 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. That's right, we were doing 125%, but we said screw that, we're giving you guys 150% instead. Again, that is promo code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. I mean, for starters, we all remember what happened last year, right? CJ Stroud absolutely broke the NFL with his outrageously composed, skillful, and clutch quarterback play, initiating one of the fastest NFL team rebuilds we have ever seen, while also dooming Panthers fans to misery as they watched Bryce Young fall apart in front of their eyes. Stroud swept up the Offensive Rookie of the Year award thanks to a sensational 4,108-yard, 23 touchdown to just 5 interception stat line, and in posting these impressive numbers, Stroud also helped himself to several NFL records. Most notably, his 470-yard, 5-touchdown breakout game against Tampa Bay set new records for both yards and touchdowns in a game by a rookie, before going on to set the record for the most games with at least 350 yards by a rookie with 3. He also set a new NFL record for the most pass attempts without an interception to start a career with 191, and when he hammered the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs, he became the youngest quarterback to win a postseason game at just 22 years old and 3 months. But it wasn't just Stroud who helped this team turn around so fast. Defensive end Will Anderson Jr., who the team traded up to select 1 pick after Stroud at 3rd overall, also hit the ground running. He picked up 45 tackles and 7 sacks on his way to winning the Defensive Rookie of the Year award, meaning the Texans held a monopoly over the rookie awards. And simply put, that is how you do turn around a franchise. The Texans traded a 3-13 record in 2022 for a 10-7 record in 2023, and all of a sudden, expectations rose from simply hoping to win games to now setting their eyes on the biggest prize of all, a Lombardi trophy. The Houston Texans entered 2024 as a trendy pick to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Stephon Diggs was brought over to complete one of the most daunting wide receiver trios of all time, and Joe Mixon was added to hopefully provide a run game that gave the passing attack the support it deserved. Defensively, Danielle Hunter arrived after a career-best 16.5 sacks in 2023 as a Viking, bookending what was now a fearsome defensive line. General manager Nick Caserio had capitalized on the momentum of Stroud's rookie season and built a roster that could go all the way. And now once the season started, it was truly just kind of time to see if they were going to deliver on all the hype that they had coming into this season, or really whether they were just always going to survive as being plucky underdogs. And so far, so good. I mean, they look really good. Week 1 treated NFL fans to a clash between 2 of the most exciting young quarterbacks in the NFL, leading 2 teams who expect to be fighting it out for the division title come December. This was Houston's first look at their superstar sophomore quarterback with his new array of weapons, and while he certainly started strong, it was actually the ground game that stole the show. New signing Joe Mixon ran all over the Colts, sticking 159 yards and 1 touchdown on them after handling the ball 30 times on the ground. I mean, the Colts could not stop the former Bengals angle, leading to a 29-27 victory in which Stroud also chipped in with a useful 234 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. The win honestly gave the Texans a crucial 1-0 start, but an even more important win over an in-division rival. But on top of this, I think honestly the most exciting thing that week 1 showed us about the Texans is that they had a run game now. I mean, in 2023, the Houston Texans averaged just 3.7 yards per carry on the ground, which was tied for 4th worst in the NFL. Offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick was lauded for his brilliant offensive play designs and ability to nurture CJ Stroud into a top 10 quarterback as a rookie, and he did it all without a run game. And now with honestly just the run game that they showed off in week 1 against the Colts, the Texans honestly just posed a whole new threat to the NFL because they had the run game now. Unfortunately, that brief excitement of rushing success came to a halt just 1 week later when Joe Mixon suffered an early injury against Chicago in week 2. But that didn't matter because Nico Collins stepped up and announced his arrival in 2024, and to prove that his 2023 breakout was no flash in the pan. Against a stingy Bears defense, Collins corralled in 8 receptions for 135 yards and a touchdown, combining speed and power to overwhelm an otherwise impressive defensive outing from Chicago. Collins blew up in 2023, posting 1,297 yards and 8 touchdowns, which dwarfed the 927 yards and 3 touchdowns he had collected over his first 2 years in the NFL combined. He was one of the main beneficiaries of CJ Stroud's arrival in Houston, proving just how important the quarterback position is to maximizing the potential of your playmakers. But these partnerships are very much a two-way relationship. Every young quarterback needs a weapon to help him to adjust to life in the NFL, and it doesn't get much better than a 6'4", 222-pound tank who can run routes and have reliable hands. And look, I mean, straight up, you can tell that Nico Collins is CJ Stroud's go-to guy, especially after how they ended week 1 with just the play that they needed to pretty much wrap up that game in Indianapolis. I mean, on 3rd and 11 inside the 2-minute warning and leading by only 2, many coaches would have just simply ran the ball to make the Colts burn a timeout, but instead the Texans put the ball in Stroud's hand and asked him to fire a bullet to Nico Collins on an out route just past the sticks. The play honestly was well covered and looked impossible to complete, but Stroud put the ball in the perfect spot and Nico somehow held on. I mean, honestly, that is the definition of clutch, and that relationship between wide receiver and quarterback can absolutely win the Texans a Super Bowl this year. Through Stroud and Collins' clutch plays and Mixon's dominance in week 1, the Texans enjoyed a 2-0 record after 2 weeks. But it wasn't just the offense that took all the glory. Despite Collins erupting for 135 yards and a score against the Bears in week 2, the Texans could only muster up 19 points. Thankfully for Houston though, their defense has also taken significant strides forward this year, and 7 sacks for 40 yards and 2 interceptions made sure that no comeback was on the cards for the Bears. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. both notched 1.5 sacks apiece, with Henry To'oTo'o, Mario Edwards, Derek Barnett, and Azeez Al-Shaair also getting in on the action. I mean, it is true that Chicago does have a dismal offensive line, but good teams pounce on good matchups, and the Texans absolutely overwhelmed the Chicago offense en route to the 19-13 victory. I mean, honestly, with the dominance of the defense and just CJ Stroud picking up right where he left off last year, and then you add in just Joe Mixon's absolute dominance in the backfield too, it was proving that the offseason moves that Nick Caserio had made were paying off. Like, I mean, just seeing this team just showing how much more well-rounded they were this year than they were last year truly shows how they delivered so far on the hype that they were getting all offseason. And now, yes, the Minnesota Vikings temporarily took some air out of the balloon by handing Houston their first defeat in week 3 with a pretty bad 34-7 hammering at US Bank Stadium, but it was honestly the first time that Stroud has looked mortal throughout his young career. He threw 2 interceptions and became the latest in a long line of young quarterbacks to just be absolutely bamboozled by Brian Flores' confusing defensive schemes. But that was okay because the ship was righted 1 week later with a 24-20 win over Jacksonville, which gives the team an early 2-0 record in the division. With Joe Mixon still not back from injury, this was a classic CJ Stroud and Nico Collins takeover game, with the duo combining for 151 yards and a touchdown on 12 receptions. Stephon Diggs also got involved in the action by catching a 6-yard touchdown in addition to corralling 5 receptions for 69 yards. The Jags did put up a good fight in this one, but were eventually just undone by Stroud, who once again proved that he has ice in his veins. Down by 4 and with 2 minutes and 54 seconds left on the clock, Stroud got the ball back on his own 31-yard line, and with the game on the line, he marched 69 yards downfield and sent the go-ahead touchdown pass in with just 18 seconds left on the clock. I mean, honestly, after getting that win too, you could just add all the types of wins they had with just dominant passing game, dominant defense, dominant just CJ Stroud game, and now you just had a dominant clutch comeback game. Like, I mean, they have proven versatility and toughness to extend to a 3-1 record, but also all of that would be tested to the max when the Buffalo Bills came to town in this past week 5. And I mean, the Bills were honestly just fresh off of a hammering by Baltimore and would be eager to get back on track and prove themselves against another AFC powerhouse in Houston. The Texans came out firing though, extending to an early 14-3 first quarter lead thanks to a rushing touchdown from Cam Akers and a stunning 67-yard bomb to who else but Nico Collins for another touchdown. But unfortunately, that was Collins' last contributions on the day because of a hamstring injury. But a 17-3 halftime lead meant things appeared pretty comfortable. Buffalo fought back in the third quarter through a James Cook rushing touchdown and a 49-yard touchdown through the air to rookie Keon Coleman on his only catch of the day. Things honestly weren't as smooth for Houston without Collins in the game, but Stephon Diggs did step up against his old team to collect 6 receptions for 82 yards and help set up some second half field goals to keep the scoreboard ticking over. And with the score tied in the dying moments, a solid defensive stand from Houston's defense set up a Buffalo punt from their own 3-yard line. This resulted in a short return from Robert Woods and a short pass from CJ Stroud to set up a 59-yard game-winning field goal. It was a tense finish against a good AFC contender, but once again, it was the Texans who found a way to win. Like, I mean, so often we see teams and players thrive as underdogs, but then crumble when the expectations are ramped up. This just has not been the case with Houston this year. I mean, they've been brilliant this season so far, continuing to dominate at what they excelled at last year, but also adding some new elements to their overall game in 2024. The defense has given up the 5th fewest amount of yards after 5 weeks and are a top 10 unit in both sacks and pressure rate as of today. Nico Collins has continued his trajectory toward league dominance, proving himself as one of the very best wide receivers in the NFL and honestly just like a reincarnation of Andre Johnson. And entering week 4, he led the NFL with 489 yards, and he also added to that tally with his 67-yard touchdown this week before leaving injured. Joe Mixon thrived in his debut and hopefully will be returning soon to add more balance to this already powerful offense, and CJ Stroud is just as good as we all hoped. He's completed 69% of his passes for 1,385 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions this year, already leading the team on a game-winning drive against Jacksonville, as well as setting up a crazy game-winning field goal against Buffalo. I mean, honestly, it is crazy to think that this guy is just 23 years old, but I mean, he's already proven himself countless times. On top of that too, with CJ Stroud just playing at an MVP level and all of the other improvements we have already discussed with this team, I think there is no doubt that these Texans are on track for a deep playoff run. Right now, they look like they have a better roster than Kansas City, especially considering the Chiefs' injuries, and currently have a 1-game advantage over the Baltimore Ravens. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the Texans did get the 1 seed, but who knows, because who can predict the NFL? That's why we love it, right? But I want to know what you guys think. How good are the Texans? Do you guys think that they are going to be legit Super Bowl contenders, or are they just going to get into the playoffs, win 1 game, and then get bounced by like the Ravens, Bills, or the Chiefs? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. And as always, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Share with a Texans fan, share with a football fan, whoever you know. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.